Hello and welcome back to the DoneDeal YouTube channel. Today we're reviewing the all-new Ford... I thought we were reviewing the Puma.
That's what it is.
That's an SUV.
It's the new one.
No, the Puma's like a front-wheel drive coupe car.
That's what it is now.
Hello and welcome back to the DoneDeal YouTube channel, and today we are reviewing the all-new Ford Puma. Now, Ford purists may be a little bit disappointed as it's no longer that coupe sports car that it once was. However, Ford have gone down the line that the Nissan Juke has, the Peugeot 2008, and so many other crossover vehicles, which is giving you an SUV, and that's what the customer wants nowadays. We like beefed up, more aggressive looking cars. Now, in saying that, the Puma has still given a little bit of a nod to the original by having a very similar grille, and the lights really do take us back in time. Now, prices for the Puma start at about 24,800. The ST Line X, you're going to want to spend over 30 or 31,000 euros to get a nicely spec'd one, and we'll talk through that in the rest of the review. If you would like to look at buying a Ford Puma, then make sure to check out some of our trusted dealers with the link up there. So this is the most fundamental part of any car, is the cockpit, because this is where you're going to be spending your time racking up those miles, telling the kids to be quiet in the back, and so you need to make sure you're doing it in a nice, comfortable environment. And it is good news. These are the ST Line X seats, so they're a little bit sportier. Very, very comfortable, I will say. And overall, it's a nice place to be. It's kind of dull, however, the red stitching does brighten it up a little bit. The infotainment system is nicely located, that you don't really have to take your eye off the road too much to maybe adjust anything there. And storage is really, really generous. So in here you've got a nice, big, spacious glove box. You've got two drink holders here, big door cards, you've got wireless charging here. And overall, it's really, really good. And then of course you can adjust the seating and steering position to get into that nice, comfortable place. Now, the infotainment system, this is always important. What kind of tech does it have on offer? So let's check it out. It is divided up into two parts. The first is this center screen in front of you, and it works really well. It's obviously touch screen and it's got its own inbuilt sat nav. The touch response is reasonably good. I will say it's not as good as something like the T-Cross, which we have actually reviewed before. However, when you plug your device in, you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and if a car has that, then the infotainment is sorted as far as I'm concerned, because Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is tough to beat. You've got your Google Maps, and it works really, really well. Then we shift over to the digital display in front of the driver. Now that, again, when you get into a car that has a digital display, it just feels a little bit more modern, it feels more sophisticated, and it's kind of a little bit of a party piece that you can show off to your friends who may have never driven or been in a car with a digital display. The one in the Ford, again, it works really, really well. There is some nice shortcuts, like if you go into the navigation, you can select a location really, really easily through that. You can adjust your radio, and all in all, it works very, very well. Now, one last thing I would like to say about the Ford overall is the amount of buttons is fantastic. You can still adjust the radio really, really quickly. You can still use any of your infotainment system through here, through the buttons, and we really like that. It just kind of has that right balance of being modern for the techies who like to touch, but also being old school that you can just touch some buttons. So, the rear of the new Puma, well, to start with, it has come on leaps and bounds from the original Puma. As you can imagine, it was a coupe. This has a lot of headroom and it has plenty of knee space. And that's saying something, because I'm a pretty tall guy. Now, other than that, it is actually quite a comfortable seat. The only thing I'll say is this headrest kind of digs into your back a little bit. You can raise it, but then that is going to kind of impair the blind spot for the driver, or impair visibility rather. In terms of kind of luxuries, you've got a little bit of net here, which you can put in your face masks or your phone or whatever else you have. You've actually got a little phone holder here, which is quite nice. Some negatives, there is no center armrest, and although there's coat hooks, or let's say hanger hooks, there's no grab handle there, which nervous rear passengers may not like. So the Puma's party piece is actually the boot. So we're going to start by checking it out. This particular one has an electric tailgate, so you just press the button and 700 euros later, the boot opens. Now, here it is very normal. The one interesting thing is the parcel shelf is actually attached to the boot. I do quite like it. It's got all your usual kind of shopping hook attachments. You've got a 12-volt socket. However, under here is where it gets really, really interesting. So you lift that up, and first of all, it sits nice and comfortably, which is very, very cool. And you have this massive, massive box here, and you're probably thinking, what's that for? Well, that is called the Ford MegaBox. Now, you could use it for so many things. You could store drinks in it by pouring ice in it. You could just put things in it, shopping bags, golf clubs, whatever you like. However, personally, myself, I do see one massive advantage to this. And it is day to day. If you don't know, my other side job is wakeboarding, and I often have wet wetsuits, wet life jackets, and I throw them in my car, and then it always ends up stinking because inevitably I'm quite lazy and never wash it out. However, in here, you can literally lift this up, open up the bung, it's kind of like a boat, and you can power hose it out and it stays nice and clean. So, does the Puma drive as well as it looks? Well, it's got a manual handbrake. I like that. Pop it into first gear and off we go. So let's begin by talking about the engine. So it has a 1 litre EcoBoost. It's a 3-cylinder. We'll discuss more about the 3-cylinder in a short while. And it's got 120 odd brake horsepower. Now, being honest, it's got plenty of poke, but there is a larger 153 brake horsepower engine, which personally, if I was buying it, particularly with the ST line spec, I definitely would go for it. Now, it is a mild hybrid, and what that means is it uses a little bit of regenerative braking to make the car more efficient. Being honest, you don't need to worry about that. It's a complicated system that actually you wouldn't even notice working. So it's a good thing, and that's all you need to know. Now, handling. How does it handle? Well, I often get concerned when a manufacturer grabs one of their best handling vehicles, the Fiesta, and they make it higher, raise the center of gravity. How is it going to handle? The good news is, because this is the ST Line X, it's got some slightly sportier suspension, and it does handle pretty well. One negative thing I will say is the clutch is actually quite heavy, and I drive a car with a reasonably heavy clutch day to day. However, when I got into this after going home in rush hour traffic, my left leg was pretty tired. It's like fully leg pressing on your left leg. But other than that, it drives really, really well. The only other thing I will say is that 1 litre engine. It's a 3-cylinder, and this isn't just Ford, it's all 3-cylinder engines that I've ever driven. They are kind of rough. They're not very smooth. I'm gonna say they sound a little bit like a diesel, and if you combine that with the heavy clutch, the first few times you drive it, you kind of get a feeling that you're in a diesel, not in a petrol. But if you can deal with that, you've got yourself a very, very nice car to drive. This car is fitted with a driver assistant pack. Now, it's 1,500 euros. However, I can't think of a better way to spend 1,500 euros than on that, because it comes with so many things. Adaptive cruise control, lane assist, and it's really good lane assist. It doesn't tug you back and forth, it just kind of slightly adjusts it. It's got accident emergency braking, and it's got a few other nice, cool things that we will talk about later on in the review. And it also has a reversing camera, front parking sensors. It really gives you that kind of parking and driving aid that you may need. We have arrived at the point in the review where we discuss 3 of our favourite and 3 of our least favourite things about the car in subject. Now, on the Ford Puma, there is very little to not really like. However, the first one that kind of jumps out at me is potentially the build quality. Now, I must disclaim, this car has 10,000 kilometres. It's been a press car its whole life, so it's probably had a bit of a rough time so far. However, I did notice this little sill here is kind of hanging off, which does make me question the build quality. However, at the end of the day, it is a Ford, and mechanically it will be very, very sound. Number 2 is to do with this armrest here. So I have found when I'm driving on the motorway and I sit back and I want to cruise, I go to put my arm on the armrest. Now, I have one here at the perfect height in the perfect position, but my left elbow seems to just not quite make it. Now, Are my arms too short? Potentially. However, in something like a Volkswagen, you're able to kind of push the armrest forward and lift it up and get it in that perfect position. But here in the Ford, it's just storage. And number 3 is when you get on to the motorway and you're cruising and you've got your adaptive cruise control on, there is a car symbol that comes up on the dash here in front of me, but it's not a Puma. It appears to be a Ford Mondeo, and I'm pretty sure yesterday it was a Ford Mustang. Strange. Now, it's not all bad. In fact, there is quite a lot of things that we really do love about the Ford Puma. And the first is she's an absolute stunner. I think it looks fantastic. And actually, not only does it remind me of the original Puma, but it also kind of has a little bit of the Porsche Cayenne in it. Number 2 is the ISOFIX points. I actually like the balance of hiding them but also making them easily accessible. So they are right there and very, very handy to get at. However, to the blind eye, you would never ever notice them. And number 3 is part of that driving assistance package. So basically you press this button down here, and on my screen here, the car will look for somewhere that I'm going to fit. It'll say stop, space found, put the car in reverse, and it should do the steering for me. Now I'm a little bit anxious because I don't own these cars, and as you can see there's someone behind me, but it seems to be working. Ooh, it's so nerve-wracking. Also, oh god, that's very close. Oh, oh, it works. I don't know if I trust it to not curb my wheels, but it did just park successfully. Well, there you have it. That is DoneDeal's comprehensive review of the Ford Puma. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and comment below and let us know if you've ever owned a Ford Puma, how you find it, or even any of its competitors like the Juke or the Peugeot 2008 or even the T-Cross. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers.